Last night, the CTA held the first of several planned budget town halls. They are preparing for potential service cuts up to 40% next year if no deal is reached to avert the fiscal cliff public transit agencies are facing. And as we've been telling you all year, CTA, along with Metra and Pace, face a combined $771 million budget shortfall in 2026. The state Senate passed a bill that would reorganize how public transit is run in Chicago and restore their funding in May, but the House adjourned for the summer, excuse me, without voting on it. One of the people who has been closely following the political wrangling to reach a deal before the deadline, and that more really than anyone else, is Streetsblog Chicago editor John Greenfield, who joins us this morning. Good morning, John. I want to start by asking you, why should people care about this fiscal cliff, even if they don't personally ride the L or take the bus or use Metra?
Sure. Well, in a nutshell, if we're not able to get the $771 million by, ideally next month, they're going to be having a fall veto session. It's likely to pass some legislation about that. Anyway, if they're not able to get the funding in time, there's a projected 40% cut in transit service for CTA, Pace, and Metra, and about 3,000 layoffs of transit workers. So that would be terrible for the economy. One study recently found that Illinois would lose $14 billion in economic activities if that happened. The roads would be clogged with more people driving, which means more crashes, more pollution. So there are lots of reasons all Illinoisans should support transit funding.
So with that, I mean, more traffic as well, so it would take people potentially, or arguably longer to get where they need to go. What I have found to be frustrating, honestly, is there's been so much talk about this now for, the last almost 10 months or so, but yet outside the Senate, no real action. You've spoken to key members of the General Assembly from both parties over the summer. Does it sound to you that they will actually truly pass legislation in the veto session to avert this as they predict?
Yeah, I've interviewed, I think, about 9 state legislators at this point, and I've interviewed people from the House and Senate, Republicans and Democrats. And one thing that's sort of nice about this issue is it's a common enemy that is, some Republicans and some Democrats can sort of have some common ground during a very divisive political era. In terms of whether this is going to pass during October, it's a complex issue, and the can does seem to keep getting kicked down the road. A couple of Republicans that I've interviewed recently, Senator Seth Lewis and Senator Don DeWitt, they've sort of implied that they think this can wait until the spring. Personally, I would really like to see them nail this down in October. I don't think it's worth playing games with whether or not we have to do massive transit cuts and massive layoffs. But it is a complex issue, and there's a lot of things people have differences of opinion about. I mean, those 2 Republicans I just mentioned, encouragingly, those guys are pretty pro-transit. They both went on a fact-finding trip to Germany last December to check out what a great transit system they have in that country. And, so they definitely want to save transit, but there are differences of opinion about how to do it.
Right, and it's going to take money, and we know that is an issue as well. John, for time purposes, I have to thank you. We need to get going, but thanks so much for keeping an eye on this issue. Hopefully we can check back in with you when things move along, and I know that veto session starts in just a little less than a month now, too. So John Greenfield, Streetsblog, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed. Thanks a lot.
All right, take care.